What's going on, guys? This is Lior and welcome back to the channel. Now, what I thought I would do in this video is give you guys an overview of my top 8 neighborhoods around the greater Boston area that I think are perfect for first-time condo buyers. Now, the reason I thought I'd shoot this is I've had a lot of you guys reach out to me that are either renting in the area or that are moving in from out of state into Boston and are looking to buy your first home, and a lot of you guys are just not sure what the exact best fit is, both from a price and financial perspective as well as a lifestyle perspective. So I'm gonna break that down for you guys and give you guys my opinion on some of the best neighborhoods that I see a lot of you guys migrating to. So with that, let's get at it. What's going on, guys? My name's Lior and I'm a real estate agent with Compass out of Boston. And I'm excited to do this video on highlighting the top 8 neighborhoods around Boston, that are within 15-20 minutes that I think are perfect for first-time condo buyers. Now, before we get into that, 2 super quick things, guys. Number 1, if this is your first time on my channel, first of all, welcome. Second of all, make sure you smash that subscribe button for me. I still literally get so many of you guys reaching out to me literally on a daily basis, asking me for advice on everything to do with real estate. So if you're thinking about buying, selling, investing, whatever it is, hit me up and I will definitely help you out. Now, with that, let's get right into this list of the top 8 areas around Boston within 15-20 minutes that I think are perfect for first-time condo buyers. And you'll probably notice that the list is gonna get increasingly more expensive areas. So just take note of that as we go through it. So I'm gonna start off with my first area or neighborhood, which is Dorchester. And a lot of you guys that have reached out to me recently have been asking me about Dorchester. I know a couple of you guys have actually ended up buying in Dorchester, which is awesome. And the reason is it's a great neighborhood in the city, right? You're still super close to Boston. You can get in and out very easy. You have access to the T line, right? The red line goes through Dorchester. And there's some really cool pockets in Dorchester, right? What's been really popular with a lot of first-time buyers that I've seen has been areas like Savin Hill, which is close to where UMass is. Also areas like Ashmont and Neponset, which are towards the coast. Lower Mills, which is really cool. Now, I've done specific videos on each of these neighborhoods individually, so if you want more detail, make sure to check those out on the channel. But all of those areas have great mix of bars, restaurants, great things to do outdoors. So they're just really vibrant neighborhoods. Now, in terms of the financials and the pricing for this neighborhood and for all the other ones we're going to talk about, I'm going to give you guys very soft ballpark ranges of what you can expect for your starter condos. And for starter condos, I literally mean anything from say 800 square feet to 1,000, 1,100 square feet. So in Dorchester, again, in those areas that we talked about, typically you're probably going to be looking at somewhere to 500 to mid 600s, $1,000, right? So 500 to $650,000. Again, that's obviously a pretty big range, but there's a lot of variability between square footage, condition, exact location. But just to give you kind of a soft sense of ballpark of what you would need to spend in order to get into these neighborhoods. Now, the second area we're gonna move to is Jamaica Plain. And in JP, it's a more expensive area than Dorchester. And if you're not familiar where it is a little west of Dot. I call Dorchester Dot. But JP is also a very diverse neighborhood and has many different pockets and kind of different lifestyle feels. If you need the T-axis, right, and you want that orange line MBTA axis, you can go kind of on the east side of JP, right, by Stony Brook and Green Street. Over there, you're gonna have the very convenient access to the T-stops. If you wanna go closer, more west towards Center Street, where you have a lot of the small restaurants, the cool little shops that JP is really famous for. Or if you want to go towards Jamaica Pond, which is an absolutely stunning and gorgeous area. Just note that if you go towards Center Street and Jamaica Pond, the area tends to get a little bit more expensive. But regardless of where you are in JP, you're going to have awesome amenities. Again, awesome shops, restaurants, bars. If you want more detail, make sure to check out my video on Jamaica Plain. Now, in terms of pricing with JP, I'd say it's similar to Dorchester, a little bit more expensive. Starter condos there, you're probably looking low mid 500s up to, I'd say, mid 600s and high 600s, right? Again, you can get way more expensive in Jamaica Plain. You can also get cheaper if you're going for smaller units. But again, just to give you a soft ballpark range, 800 to 1,000 square foot condos, you know, anything from like say 5 1/4 ish to maybe like 650, 675. Again, depending on the exact neighborhood, exact location, exact type of unit. Now, area number 3 I'm going to highlight. Now, we're going to step out a little bit out of the city, right? Because Dorchester and JP are both very close to Boston. Both you can get within, I'd say, 10-15 minutes. Now, we're going to go a little further out to, say, 20-25 minutes out of the city. And I'm going to highlight Watertown. And Watertown has been an increasingly popular option for a lot of people looking to buy their first home. Watertown offers awesome lifestyle. You've still got some smaller restaurants, some smaller bars. You also have something like the Arsenal Yards, which is a mega project in East Watertown. That is featuring a ton of retail, movie theater. They've got new restaurants, new shops. It is like a mega project. Again, I did a full overview on this project on another video on this channel, so make sure to check that out if you're interested. But Watertown kind of has that mix, right? It's got a little bit more of a burby feel to it than the first 2 areas we highlighted. It definitely feels a little bit more suburby. You can get to Boston, within 20-25 minutes, and it has become a recent fan favorite. So in terms of pricing, I would say we're probably looking similar pricing as maybe like Jamaica Plain, more or less. Again, ton of variability, but for your average starter condo, you're probably starting around the low 500s, up to maybe like say mid 600s. Again, you can certainly get much more expensive in Watertown. If you're going smaller units, you certainly can get cheaper, but we're kind of in that same more or less ballpark range of pricing in Watertown. Now, area number 4 that has also become increasingly popular for first-time home buyers, and especially for those folks that don't need to commute into Boston as much necessarily, is Waltham. Now, Waltham is right next to Watertown as well. And again, also kind of has a little bit of a burbier feel than, say, neighborhoods like Dorchester and Jamaica Plain. You're still about 20-25 minutes away from the city, although Waltham does offer a commuter rail stop, so if you do need to commute, it is certainly viable to do so there. But again, in terms of lifestyle, a little bit of a burbier feel. You do have some more active streets, so Moody Street in Waltham is kind of known to have a bunch of little restaurants, bars, cafes. Does have some pretty good activity out there. Main Street in Waltham is also kind of busy, has some shops on all sides of it. So great little option. Has a couple of little centers with more activity. If you go outside those areas, definitely becomes a little bit more burbier. And it's become a very attractive option for a lot of folks. Pricing wise, I'd say, again, very similar, maybe a tad cheaper than Watertown. But again, typically we're looking for your average starter condo, you're going to be looking at around $500,000 to $600,000, for your basic 800 to 1,000 square foot unit. For this next city, which is Medford, we're going to go a little north of Boston, right? And Medford is probably about 15-ish minutes or so. So you're getting a little closer back into Boston with Medford. But Medford has become increasingly popular as well. You have good highway access there. You do have some T-stops on the east side, right? You've got the Orange Line going through there. On the west side towards Tufts, they're building that Green Line extension, which again will also help with transportation around the area. But very similar, right? Kind of a burbier feel to the area than maybe something like Dorchester and Jamaica Plain. Still have a couple little centers here and there that have smaller restaurants, cafes, bars, and shops. And that location and convenience has made it increasingly popular. Now, in terms of pricing, again, very similar. You can kind of get the sense. You're probably building a sense of that there's a theme here. Pricing wise, we're still looking very similar price range, probably around $500,000 to $600,000 for your average starter condo. Now we're gonna move for these next three areas. We're gonna move into slightly more expensive areas. Now we're gonna get a little bit closer to the city as well. So the next one on the list is East Boston. And East Boston, again, I've done videos specifically on East Boston, so if you want all the details, make sure to check that out. But East Boston is also composed of a couple of different neighborhoods. You've got Jeffries Point, Eagle Hill, Orient Heights towards the north, and they all kind of vary in terms of pricing and lifestyle, right? Jeffries Point has quickly become a very developed area. There's been a ton of new construction there. Now you have a lot of new bars, a lot of new cool hip restaurants, shops, etc. It's become quite the fan favorite amongst, a lot of younger and professional folks there. You got awesome access to the waterfront, you got some parks on the waterfront, you got breweries, and it's just a great city vibe that's very close to the city. Now, in terms of pricing in Jeffries Point specifically, we're getting a little bit more expensive. Starter units, you're typically probably looking at high 500s to probably mid-high 600s as well. Again, you can certainly get much more expensive than that in Jeffries, but just to kind of give you a little bit of a sense. Now, if you're going to go into other neighborhoods, maybe like Eagle Hill, right? So if you look at a map of East Boston, Jeffries Point is the area most kind of east. Eagle Hill is kind of a little bit more west towards Chelsea. There you have a little bit less lifestyle amenities. It's still, that area is still kind of getting developed. You kind of have some older bars, older shops, older restaurants, as opposed to kind of the newer stuff in Jeffries Point. So there's certainly some price and lifestyle arbitrage there, but the pricing, like I said, reflects that. You can get units that are a little bit cheaper there, but still be very, very close to Jeffries Point. I mean, you're going to be, maybe 5-10 minute walk, depending exactly what street you select. But still, you're still going to be very close to downtown Boston. You're still going to have access to those amenities. It's still on the water, and you're still going to have that waterfront access. So very, very similar vibe. Now, the next area I'm going to highlight is South Boston. This is another great option that's very, very close to the city. In South Boston, you are probably going to be about 10 minutes or so, 5-10 minutes, depending exactly where in Southie you are, from the city. A lot of things to do here. There's a lot of new bars, a lot of new restaurants going on here. You do also have some waterfront access in Southie, which is fantastic. You can go towards the coast and you'll have lifestyle amenities such as going to like Castle Island, which is fantastic. You're going to be very close to a lot of the pockets right in Boston, like the South End and Seaport. So you're kind of getting a lot of different lifestyle options by living in this area. And that's why it's become such a popular place for younger folks, professional folks, even younger families as well. Now, in terms of pricing, that certainly gets reflected here, as Southie is certainly a little bit more expensive than the other areas we've talked about. Again, starter condos here, you're probably looking high 500, 600 on your lower side, up to mid sevens. And again, you can certainly get much more expensive than that depending on the unit, construction year, etc. But great option if you're looking to get right next to the city and kind of have a very city feel that's not right in downtown Boston. And finally, the last area I thought I would highlight, now I kind of clumped two cities together just because they're very similar, I would say, is Somerville and Cambridge. Now, these are certainly pretty expensive areas. They've changed drastically. They do have a ton of lifestyle amenities. You've got a lot of restaurants, a lot of shops, cafes, a lot of things to do. Great transportation, right? You've got the Red Line, you've got the Green Line. There's just a lot going on there. You have mega developments like Assembly Row in Somerville. Cambridge, of course, you have things like Harvard Square, East Cambridge. There's no shortage of things to do in those areas, right? They're super convenient, great atmosphere. It's kind of got a city-esque feel to it, but definitely much less than anything like downtown or areas like South Boston or East Boston. It's kind of got a nice little mix between burby and city feel to it, which has made it super popular amongst many different folks. Now, price ranges here can vary a lot, so I'm not going to dig super deep into it. Again, I've done videos on these two areas in more detail. But Somerville, depending on the area, typically for your starter condos, you're going to be looking somewhere around the $600,000 to $700,000 range. Cambridge is going to be a tier higher, more expensive, probably one of the more expensive areas we've talked about in this whole video. Cambridge, you're going to be looking typically at $700,000 to $800,000 for that starter condo. Cambridge is super, super desirable, and hence why it is a little bit more expensive as well. So hopefully that gave you guys a rundown if you're thinking about, making that move into buying your first, first condo around Boston. As you can see, you have a lot of different options, right? Depending on what you're looking for from a lifestyle perspective, whether you want to be super close to the city or if you're looking for a little bit of a quieter feel, you have plenty of options. These are also not the exclusive neighborhoods, right? There's certainly other options available around Boston that we did not talk about here, but these are just kind of the ones that tend to come up a lot in my conversations. So hopefully this overview is helpful. As I said, guys, I've done specific video overviews of each of these areas on my channel. But of course, if you have specific questions as well, you can certainly put them in the comments below or just hit me up directly, and I will definitely help you